Peace, free the land, all power to the people. It's your boy, Brother Nev. I'm here with 28 Days of Blackness, where I'm going to be talking to folks about Kwame Nkrumah, who's a devout pan-Africanist, committed revolutionary. I just also want to say that I'm here on behalf of Build More Unity and Kismet of Kings, and representing my beloved Jersey City community. Let's take y'all right into it. So Kwame Nkrumah, born in 1909 in the Gold Coast, which was the formal name for Ghana. An early gifted child and intellectual, he went on to move through very gifted schools until it was time for him to go to college, at which point he transitioned to the United States in his efforts to observe the world, right? To observe the world and make observations. So he earned degrees in theology, sociology, philosophy, psychology, you name it, right? Over a 10-year period in the United States. From that point, Kwame Nkrumah went over to London to continue his observations in the world. And this whole time, right, he's making these observations in service of the continent of Africa. So in his mind, how can I see and observe the problems in the world and then go back to Africa so that I can serve my people, right? So in London, 1945, he co-founded the 5th Pan-African Congress. And at that Congress, we get the definition of pan-Africanism, which is the total unification of all Africans, be they on the continent or in the diaspora, under scientific socialism, right? So he's instrumental, Kwame Nkrumah, in founding that 5th Pan-African Congress and giving us a framework on which we struggle for our liberation, even to this very day. So, that was just the beginning of his work. His work kept going. He left London and went back to Ghana to, begin the work in the liberation of his people from the colonial powers of Great Britain. He touched down on the scene. He tapped in with the United Gold Coast Convention, thinking that at the time they were a progressive party and that party could be used to gain political power inside of the nation and ultimately independence. There was a strife in the party due to political differences and ideals, and eventually Kwame Nkrumah ended up being arrested and was taken as a political prisoner. He served 1 year in jail. That time was short for him, however, because the people spoke, and in the first democratic election in 1951, he was elected prime minister. So he came into power in 1952, and he made short work of independence. In just 5 years, Ghana was liberated from Great Britain in 1957 and became the first nation in the continent of Africa to be liberated above the sub-Saharan, to be liberated from European powers. So from there, Kwame Nkrumah's work wasn't done because he understood that Africans aren't free until all Africans are free. So with Ghana liberated, his next mission was to work to create the United States of Africa. And we see that working into play in 1964, where he founded the Organization of African Unity, the OAU. Those in Ghana, him amongst other folks, worked with people and nations of Guinea, of Mali, of the Congo, all places on the continent, also places in the diaspora. Kwame Nkrumah met with our beloved Martin Luther King. He met with Elijah Muhammad. He met with many different people all over the world who were struggling for the liberation of African people. It's important to understand that in the media, you may get mixed understandings of Kwame Nkrumah. If you hear one person talk about him, they'll say that he was a liberator. If you hear one person talk about him, they'll say that he was a dictator. So you have that type of political dissent going on from his enemies around that time, post-liberation from British colonial powers. And eventually, and unfortunately, that resulted in a coup d'etat a few years later, where his government was overthrown and he was forced into political exile. He would remain in political exile until his death in 1972. But the work of Kwame Nkrumah is not finished. We still see his work on the continent today when you talk about the unification of places like Mali and Niger, working with Burkina Faso. And it's important for us to understand that in this time especially, Pan-Africanism is achievable, it is inevitable, and that we all have an obligation to struggle to see it happen in our lifetime. The work of Kwame Nkrumah is important to me and the organization I work with, Build More Unity, because first and foremost, we're a Pan-African organization, so we share the principles that Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah helped put forth, right? And also we understand as conscious Africans, once you know better, it's your obligation to do better, right? So Kwame Nkrumah wasn't a man that gained many degrees just to gain many degrees, right? Everything he did was in service to better himself, to be in service of the people. So in short, if you understand the conditions that our people are facing, the plight that our people are facing, and you don't take action, well, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say that why couldn't you help your people? Why didn't you serve your people? And if that's not what you want to do, if you want to stand up and be upright for your people, then start in your neighborhood. Tap into a local grassroots organization like Build More Unity. We're not the only one. There's plenty of organizations in Jersey City, in Newark, in Hudson County, in the greater New Jersey area. There's Black Lives Matter chapters. There's ways that you can get active and you can be a part of the change that we desperately need to see in our African community. Thank y'all again for tapping in with another episode of 28 Days of Blackness. I'm Nevin Perkins, and we say to y'all, peace, free the land, all power to the people, and action on all fronts.